What was most concerning to you and other things you discovered on the show?
One of the things that one of our participants encountered, her name is Lena, is she was added to a group text. It was a big group text, and they didn't all know that she had been added to it. And all of a sudden, she started to read that people were talking about her. She's an attractive young woman, and some guy said that he was going to rape her. That was really scary for her. Here's somebody in her 20s. Imagine if she was 14, 15, 16 years old. How would she have handled it? And part of what I want to let parents know is that kids use terms like rape, and sometimes they mean rape them, and other times they just mean, I'm going to try and get this person to hook up. It almost becomes like part of casual language nowadays. It doesn't matter where the school is, how much money the people have, what their race is or their religion. It seems to be happening everywhere. And I think the secondary thing is we need to teach young women to stand up for themselves. You know, Nicolette talked about wanting to get in the boy's face and sort of say to him like, hey, don't talk to me like that. But she felt like the girls around would not have done that. And so she didn't, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I rode the bus every single morning in the freezing cold, got on there just to sit with a bunch of guys who were harassing me and saying things that were not okay, disgusting. And I felt powerless. I felt like I couldn't say anything because it was the culture around me that these girls sat there and were like, oh, it's normal. They say this stuff all the time. Things that were similar to what Lena experienced.
And Nicolette and Stacey, you guys are bringing up such great points because at that age, teenagers are so vulnerable. They don't know who they are. It's a huge stage of identity development. And so you want to blend in, you want to go with the flow. And if you hear other people are saying those things, then you might want to go along. But I do think that, to your point, Stacey, we can't turn that on its head because that's also when parents and adults can be the most impactful. You can teach them the ways to speak differently. You can role model and actually even sometimes go to the point of role playing. What would you say if you were put in this situation? Because sometimes they need that tangible practice to make it specific in their head so that when something like this happens, they know exactly what to do.
I'm actually hoping that parents will watch this series and will use the conversation topics that come up in the show, because everything comes up in the show that happens in high school, as a leeway, an entryway to talk to their kids without having to sit them down with their finger pointed in a lecture.
How well are the schools doing in addressing the problem? You mentioned parents have to get involved, but the school as well, and you alluded to it, that it's not just the better schools in better areas.
A lot of parents I talk to think the schools should be handling it because it's happening in the schools. And Nicolette has a great line about that you actually taught me something. Will you tell them what that is about how it's different now?
Absolutely. So now social media has taken over the community of the entire schools. And one thing that's contributed to that's heartbreaking is cyberbullying. So you imagine when the bell rings, you're done, you get to go home. No, not anymore. This is 24/7. You can't even feel comfortable in your bedroom at home.
I think as a parent, that's the most scary thing, because the statistics are there that 28% of teenagers between 12 and 18 have experienced bullying at school, but the number is actually 45% in terms of social media and online. I have a 10-year-old and I'm just projecting forward and I'm thinking, like, how do you help buffer them? Because it is 24/7 and they're not only going to experience that face-to-face bullying in this time when they're so seeking acceptance and they're looking to keep their relationships. How do you insulate them and make them strong enough that they aren't susceptible to it?
I think it's really important as parents that we have passwords to our kids' phones and that we have access to them and that they know we have access. And I think the second thing is to teach our kids that if they get anything that makes them uncomfortable, if they don't want to come to us, they need to go to a teacher, a counselor, a coach, the next door neighbor, anyone.
What we haven't talked about are school administrators. Are they privy to this? You didn't even know, Nicolette. You're 22. You went back and you were surprised at how rampant this was. Are the administrators a bit naive to it?
Yes, absolutely. I think that a lot of teachers and administrators have no idea what's actually happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I saw firsthand as an adult what they go through. As an adult, I felt intimidated. Could you imagine what like a 15-year-old feels like? I felt powerless and didn't want to speak up for myself. And I didn't feel comfortable going to an administrator or a teacher there. Fortunately, I had Stacey, because I don't know what I would have done that entire time handling that. That's a lot of stress for me. I can't imagine what a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, that highlights something that, again, Stacey alluded to, which is a parent, this is something that you want to think about, potentially watch, have a conversation with your child, because if a 22-year-old posing as a teenager feels afraid, imagine what your true teenager feels like. Thank you both so much for sharing this with us.